Brad here, Montana Garage. Thanks for coming on back. I really do appreciate it. In this video, we're gonna finally make this bad boy steer. We're gonna install the Ididit tilt steering column. I have to do a little bit of stuff to the brake lines underneath the master cylinder where the steering column comes through, just to get that out of the way. And then we're also gonna reveal the wheel and tire combo. Should we do that right now, just to get things started? Should we just do it, get it out of the way? All right, here we go. Ready? Psych. All right, I can't show you the wheels at the beginning of the video, right? I mean, I gotta do it at the end, right? Sorry about the teaser. We're gonna install the steering column, and then I have to remove the rear end because I'm gonna order a new Ford 9-inch from Quick Performance, I think is where I'm gonna get one. And so I'm gonna remove the rear end, then I gotta stuff the new wheels and tires under there to take some measurements before I can order that rear end. And then, once that's done, once the wheels and tires are stuffed under there, then we'll remove the sweatshirt and show you what we got. Deal? So stick around, that's coming up hopefully at the end of this video. But first we got work to do. All right, first order of business before I can install the steering column is, I may have talked about this before, but this is my little brake line configuration. This line right here that stops and short and hangs dangly in the air. This was just a practice piece I had, and unfortunately it's just a little too short. I want to get this block down on the frame, and actually I got a different block so I can mount it. I wanted to put it about right there, I think, but can't drill a hole because of the steering box, and I'm too lazy to take 4 bolts out. Well, I got the steering, I got the pitman arm and everything on there, and it wouldn't be that hard to take it out of the way. But I think what I'm gonna do, we're gonna put this block somewhere right in here, as far up as I can get it, and still I gotta get the drill in here to drill a hole. I probably don't even have to like drill a hole and mount it, but it just makes me feel better. I like when things make me feel better. I probably could just hang it off of this piece and that'd probably be fine, but you know, I like to do it the hard way. So we're gonna drill a hole, drill and tap a hole, and then put a little bolt in there. And that's all I really wanna do for the brakes. I really wanna run some more brake lines, but every day I get an email changing the delivery date on my brake line. So I went with that nickel bronze stuff. Is that what people are going with? I don't know, that's what they had. This is just regular steel lines. So I may redo both of these anyways, so they match. I actually went to try to find just a regular, another steel line so I could finish this one, but everybody here in town just has that nickel bronze stuff. And I want both these to be the same, just so they look better, right? It's been so long since I looked under one of these with the inner fender wells. I guess maybe I should dig them out so I can see how far over those go to make sure we don't have clearance issues. Probably a good idea. I probably won't, but I probably should. Anywho, let's stop jabberjawing and get to work. I'm gonna go get a drill and a tap. We'll get this installed, and then we'll dig into the Ididit steering column, see if there's some instructions that tell somebody like me that doesn't know what the hell they're doing how to do it, and then we'll see if we can figure it out together. All right, let's get to work. Got my light here, got the right size drill bit, I think, and we'll figure out where we're gonna put that. Let's see. All right. All right, you guys, this is magnetic. I've been grinding, so wherever I had this sitting, there's a bunch of grinder dust. You guys have this problem with your magnets and then you sit here and go like this and try to pick all the metal off? I've talked about this before, but let me show you a good way to get those off of there. Maybe everybody else is already smart enough to know this, but for one reason or another, I never thought about it until I saw it. I saw it from Arco at Outlaw Edge YouTube channel. He does a lot of tech tips and a lot of cool stuff. And I always just did that. You sit there and pick at it for 3 or 4 days and get most of it off. But real simple thing to do if you had any brains, which apparently I didn't. Until somebody showed me, just to blow it off of there. Bye-bye metal shavings. Now the magnet will work again. All right, so like I said before, I got a little 3-way junction block. Master cylinder, this is a proportioning valve, and I have a line lock here, so fluid goes into the proportioning valve. This comes up to the line lock, or roll control, I guess they call it. And then it comes out, and then this line will go to both front brakes. So it's gonna come down, I want it to hit this T, and then one will T to this line, and the other one will go across. I'm gonna put it back here, wherever I can drill, and then this line come down, curve, curve, and come into it this direction. Just, like I said, I wanna put it as far that way as I can and still be able to drill, but see, I can't drill because everything's in the way, so if we set it off to the side, right, I think I can go right there and live with that. I got a little scratcher here, see if it'll scratch. I'm pretty good at scratching stuff usually, but now I want to scratch it. We'll see if it'll scratch. Good enough to give me an idea what we're doing. Just a little bang bang.
And hopefully that's good enough to get the drill going without it making it dance all over the frame. Oops, yeah, see, now I scratched it even more. Told you I'm good at scratching stuff. I'm not perfectly straight up and down with the drill. Here's an ideal.
Pretty riveting stuff. You ever seen anybody drill a hole before? Top-notch quality content here at Montana Garage. Stay tuned for more. We don't just drill holes like every other channel though. I mean, we actually tap the holes too, so we're pretty fancy around here. Well, I thought we were until I realized that the steering box is going to be in the way for this little operation too, but maybe we can kind of make it work. Or maybe not, you know, we'll see. We're having trouble. Shocker. Yeah, we're pretty high-tech fabricators around here. We can thread a hole. Looks like we even used the right size tap. So, you know, things are looking up. Things are going good. Except for, oh, thought I lost this guy, but I just found it. So that's what I wanted to do before the steering column got in the way. Maybe it wouldn't have really mattered, but that tightened up, and then we'll get the instructions. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to hack this off a little bit more, and then we'll figure out how to put a steering column in. Maybe you know, but I don't know. I got distracted again. My son just got home from elk hunting and I was helping him take care of stuff. It's almost dark again. Dang it, where does the time go? Anyways, I got a fresh new Ididit steering column. Looks like we got some instructions, so that's good. Some sort of little clamp, and then that's the coupler that joins it to the steering box. So I'm gonna open these instructions up and see if I can't wrap my head around what exactly we gotta do. I don't think it really should be that difficult. We gotta cut and grind on the existing shaft so we can make that bad boy fit on there. This clamps it in place. I mean, it should be pretty simple, right? All right, it seems fairly simple. We use kind of some of the original pieces. This is the original kind of column mount that goes right underneath the dash bezel. It does have this little tab on it. First strikeout is the tab has to fit up inside the column, and I don't know how well you can see that in here. It's kind of dark, but it goes on there but not in there. So I'm going to grind that tab just a little narrower, because I assume it has to sit all the way up in there. On the original column, which I have laying over here, there's a little wider slot there, and see that sits right in there. Where on the new column it will just kind of barely go in. So we'll make this tab a little narrower. That'll be our first step. And then, so that installs basically right up here, like so. Get that tab to fit, and then we'll install the column in here. And then we got to do some measuring. You want to install it to where the shafts are touching. And we're supposed to start with leaving 6 inches of the shaft exposed, and that's what I had done, but then I had to shorten it to get the body on. So hopefully I didn't shorten it too far. I think you end up with a little less than this. And then we have to grind this into a DD shaft so the coupler will have something to grab onto. All right, I just took a thin, kind of the width of the cutting wheel grinder blade off of each side. Now she fits down in the slot like it's supposed to. Well, bam. So it looks like obviously that's kind of how much adjustment we have for as far as going in and out and trying to figure out where to position this thing. All right, I think the next thing I'm gonna do is wrap this whole thing up with some blue tape, because like I said earlier, I'm pretty good at scratching stuff. All right, here we go. It's definitely not as cool looking covered in blue tape, but I just thought it might be a little safer that way. You have this little guy. It fits up here first. Bam. See, this goes this way. It's almost one of those deals where you need, like, you know, another hand or 12. Somewhere in here, there's a little slot. I think I'd be able to find and feel. Ah, there it is. Just open that bad boy up. Put that through the hole. Put that up there to hold that in place. There. And that goes in the slot. So this will get us kind of, you know, ballparked. If I could get it on the nut, would be helpful. Or the bolt. One or the other. I guess we can't get them both. All right, where's the nuts? All right, so that gets us kind of held in place. All right, so then once we figure out exactly where we want it, this little bracket here, there's a chrome column cover that there's a piece that goes up here, and then a piece that goes down here to cover all this, and then there's a bolt that goes up through that. It says that you should drill a little hole in the column there so that you can screw, when you screw that on, it screws actually into the column. So we'll do that once we figure out, because there is a little adjustment right there. We got to go out there and see how we're doing. I'm kind of afraid already that I cut the steering shaft too short. Well, it says they're supposed to be touching. We're about a 1/4 inch apart. Hopefully we can make that work. We'll get the little coupler out and see. I would assume we can still get away with that, but I don't really know. All right, so like I said, it looks like I cut my steering box shaft like a 1/4 inch too small. I got the little coupler joint out, and I think this pulls down a little further. So like I say, we're about a 1/4 inch away. This bad boy goes on here. There's this, you have to drill a hole through here apparently, because there's a stud or a lock bolt that goes all the way through that. And then I got to grind this flat on 2 sides to this D shape. It's called a double D or something like that. So this slides on here. So they say you want these touching, and I'm sure that's probably ideal, and I probably shouldn't have screwed up, but I'm going to assume that I can still make it work. Looks like there's plenty of meat on this thing, and then it doesn't say anything about it in the instructions, but I think once I get it all fit in there, I'll go ahead and weld this coupler to the shaft, and then it'll come apart up here for taking it apart, you know. So all over the internet talks about these tilt columns being a little bit longer because of the tilt mechanism. It puts the steering wheel a couple inches closer to you. Somewhere I read that it's not as big of a deal with the manual steering box because you just cut the shaft shorter and slide the column in further. So right now I'm being limited by that little slot in the column. You know, this guy, this is the original one, but this guy. What I have to do, or what I would like to do, I guess, is I have to get these chrome pieces, the trim pieces, get all this stuff put together. And then I could possibly make this slot like a 1/4 inch further up, which would allow this to go in a 1/4 inch further, therefore letting those shafts touch, which is what is ideal. I would just have to make sure that I'm not getting the steering column too far into the dash, and I don't think that's going to be a problem. Like I say, it says they're always too far, and you got to get like a low profile steering wheel. But if I can slot that and then still have room for the tilt mechanism to work, so like I say, I'll have to put this trim on here to find that out. But I got a couple options. I'm going to try to slide it in if I can. If not, I think we can still make it work one way or another. I was going to get grinding on that, but I just got called into the house to do some other stuff, so maybe another day. It is an undisclosed number of days later. Too many is all I know. I think I'm starting to realize that I'm never going to get this car done if I don't get out here more often. I wish somebody would have told me that. Lots of you have told me that. Anyways, we're back out in the Montana garage. We're back to working on the steering column. Where we left it, I had a little bit of a gap between the old steering shaft and the new steering column, about a 1/4 inch gap. And now, as you can see, I got her pretty tight. What I had to do is notch out, this is the old one, but it has this locating notch right here. I just had to give that a little bit of a buzz so that the column went down further. Before I did that, I went ahead and found my dash pieces that go on here to make sure that it would go down in the hole that little bit extra, and it seems to go down in there just fine. So I've scooted the column maybe 3/8 further that way than it's designed. I think it's, like I said, I think they end up coming out at you further than you're used to anyways. I measured on the 57, it's way different on the 57 because this trim comes way out, and I don't have a seat in here, nothing to figure it out, but 3/8 I figure ain't gonna kill me, so we'll go with that and hope that it works. So the next thing we gotta do is we gotta turn this round shaft into, I think they call it a DD shaft. It's got to have 2 flat sides like the new one. They also tell you to center the steering, so I went lock to lock, went back to the center, so I got my little center mark on there. And then these guys have pretty good instructions that come with this. But there's one thing I don't understand why they don't do it a little different. They give you this, so here's your round shaft, you got to turn it into that shaft. And they give you this here that tells you what you got to do, you know, to make a little template to show you how much you got to take off. But then it says diagram not to scale. Create your own template by using the measurements from the diagram below. Well, then they give you measurements in decimal points. Anybody got a tape measure with measurements in decimal points? I don't. So, I don't know, I just converted it to close fractions for my tape measure. And they're not to scale drawing, and then this is the one I came up with. And I just wrapped it around the shaft and it fit perfect from end to end, so I think it's pretty close to right. But my question is, why don't they just put the template to scale in the instructions and you just cut that out and go? Is there, I don't know, that would be too easy, I guess. So anyways, I stuck that on there, put a couple little marks on it, and I'm sure this would probably be easier to do if I took the steering box out, but I'm gonna try to do it without doing that. We'll just try to sneak up on it. So this is my one line, another line down here. So we'll get the grinder out and try to just do a flat, turn it and do a flat. And then somewhere I have the little coupler. I left it over here, I guess. Yes, here's the little coupler. So we'll just do a little bit at a time and keep test fitting it. And hopefully we won't screw this up. I should replace the steering box anyways. I don't want power steering, but this, it has like a sticky spot in it. I probably can't do it now because it's tired, but when it was just loose, I could turn it and then kind of, at one spot, it kind of stuck a little bit. And also the shaft was bent, and I was hoping to cut more of that shaft off there. I don't know if you can see it in this video, but turn the wheels back and forth. It's got just a little wobble to it. And I don't know, I suppose that's just gonna transfer up and be weird, right? I don't know. I'm gonna flat it, couple it together, and see how it feels. Probably should try to find a different one though.
Guess I'll start by cutting in a little groove right at the 1 inch mark between my marks. Probably a more scientific way to do this, but seems like it's actually working pretty good. All right, I'm assuming we're not going to get lucky enough that it's just going to fit. All right, so like I said, not lucky enough that it just fits right away, but we're on the right path. I think they tell you to shoot for about 0.5 across here, and I don't think we're really anywhere as close to that yet. 0.55, I think, and we're at like 6.5, so more work to do. Yeah, now it's thinking about going on there. We're getting closer. All right, so I'm just doing a little bit at a time, checking it. Looks like I finally got to go on the very end. It's tight on there though, so I think that's good. It goes into my inch mark. I think we'll call that good. I don't know, maybe it doesn't show up on camera that much, but that's definitely got a wobble. And that's not just going to go away when it goes into the steering column. It's going to create issues, I'm sure, but I'm going to hook it up and see what it's like, I guess. All right, I got it in there, but now I'm taking it apart because one of the first things you're supposed to do is put this floor mount on, and I didn't do that. And that goes on, no problems. There's 2 holes here from the original mount. I think they bolted in from the outside before, but then you got to put this clamp around the column, so got to have the column. That clamp should have been slid around the column before I shoved her home. So now I got to take it back out of there. No biggie. Well, as suspected, I think I'm going to have to get a new steering box. That little warble in the shaft, as I assume, translates all the way up through the steering column. Like I said, I was hoping I was going to cut more of that off, and the more I would cut off, the less, you know, angle in the dangle or bend there was. But I just stuck this steering wheel adapter on here just so I can kind of turn it, and you can see the steering column tries to kind of bounce back and forth as it kind of binds up because of that shaft bending, being bent. So that's a no-go. Yeah, I remember the old steering column, the bearings were shot and the wheel kind of moved around like that, and now I know why. It's because that, you know, steering shaft was bent. I guess I'm on the hunt for a new original, or not necessarily new, but a good original steering box for a 55 Chevy. If you got one or if you know of one, let me know.
All right, next day out here in the Montana garage. Well, it's the next day out in the Montana garage, but it may or may not be about 3 or so weeks later. Such is life. I think where we left off, we decided the steering shaft was too bent on the steering box and the column was binding up, and that is going to be a no-go. Once I discovered that, I got on the old internet and I made one post to the Tri-5 Mob Facebook page, and well, bam, a week or so later, a new, well, not new, different steering box showed up. One of the guys in the Tri-5 Mob had one. It didn't come all nice and shiny like this. It was, you know, old, used, original, rusty, greasy, but it turns pretty smooth. Everything looks to be in order. I don't know the history of it. The guy just said it turned smooth. I don't know if he had it on a car that he actually used or parts car or what. But anyways, I worked some magic on it, got her all shiny and pretty. So we're gonna take what we have apart. We gotta get the column out, pitman arm off, get this box out of here, and then start over. Because we do everything at least twice around here. I don't know if there's an easier or a better way, but the couple pullers I have, I couldn't get on here because of the header. So I ended up taking the, I don't know, the steering shaft or crosslink or whatever it's called apart, so I could pull that. That's this piece off the pitman arm, then I'll get the steering box out of here, and then I'll pull the pitman arm off. Right way, wrong way, I don't know. It's the way I was able to make work. So a couple bolts I pulled the column out of the way so I could turn this easier to mess with that. 3 bolts and the column will be out of here, and we can start going forward again. Once I get the steering box off, then there's plenty of room to get this little puller. That thing was actually on there pretty darn good. I just got it bust free. I think I just lifted it off now, but I probably shouldn't have taken that off. All right, finally got the pitman arm off. I'm gonna go put this this back on the steering cross shaft or whatever before I lose all those pieces, and then we'll continue. All right, so now I gotta cut the shaft. I just had the guy that sent it to me cut it at, I told him like 6 inches. Looks like he made it a little longer. Say better safe than sorry. But I gotta cut it down like this one. Now this one, I think I talked earlier in the video. It was like 3 weeks ago, so I don't remember. Haven't looked at the footage, but I had actually made this a little shorter than I would have liked to, just because I randomly chopped it off thinking I only needed like 1 inch of it. But this one is 2.5 inches, so I'm gonna add the 1/2 inch. I was about a 1/2 inch shy. I made the column scoot in further a 1/2 inch, and that's probably gonna be fine and maybe even better. But I'm gonna, just cause this is how it's designed, somebody's put these, you know, designed it to be like this. So I'm gonna add my 1/2 inch back on, means I have the chance now. So I gotta mark it 3 inches. Gotta lop this off at 3 inches and then make it a, I can't remember what they call it in the instructions, a D shaft or something like that. So I'm gonna do all that on the bench here instead of in the car this time, and hopefully it'll work out a little better. So let's go get some grinding tools and get to it. Now I got my handy dandy little template I made based on the Ididit instructions. So yeah. This thing's still a little hot. But you wrap that around there, and then the shaded areas, the parts that gotta come off. So basically connect the top line to the bottom line. So the shaded, I marked with the marker there. Roughly, I mean, it's not an exact science with my marker. Got me in the ballpark, and then we'll start grinding and we'll get the little coupler and make sure it fits. Put her back together. All right, so there we go. I don't know, well, you can see in there, not a very scientific approach. I kind of marked the center and then just kind of snuck up on it until it fit. But if I could find a spot where I could get the light right and you could see in there, you can see that it's actually a pretty tight fit. So we are basically back where we started. Now we're ready to put I did have the column in, I guess, but we're ready to now put the column in. I just filmed this and I almost screwed up and showed you my wheels. That's not till the end of the video, so you got to stick around to the end to see what the wheels look like. Anyhow, we're ready to, I got the pitman arm all back together, the tie rod ends and all that stuff that I had taken apart back together. So now we're ready to slide the column in. We have the coupler installed on the shaft. I have this floor mount, doohickey, bobber. I think they call it some sort of floor mount right here. And then on the shaft, there's just a clamp that goes around that. So we're now ready to slide that back in, get the shaft of this to go back into there, and hopefully it'll spin and turn without binding and being all weird this time. Fingers crossed. Well, I put all this tape on here like 3 weeks ago or whatever I said, and I guess it's still coming off all right. I just got done putting the column in there, and then I realized that once it's installed, I can't get this tape off of here, so at least a lot of it. So I got to take some of the ends off, and then just be a little more careful, I guess, not to scratch stuff. I'm not very good at that. All right, we're back. My helper showed up. Moose, I think I forgot to mention that Montana has finally turned into winter. About time, I guess, for around here. So we got a nice snowy day. And Moose, he doesn't venture quite as far when it's snowy, do you, Moose? You like being warm and dry. I think in the last video I hadn't seen him for a few days, but he came right back. And like I say, when it's snowy, he sticks around a little better. So he's hanging out in the shop today. All right, so steering column, we got her plopped in place. Let's see, what do we do? We had to drill a little hole in the bottom here for that screw to go in. I put the levers on, she works. Let's see, I have steering wheel adapter down here. Once I get this bolt off in here. And this is all I did last time. And I couldn't even turn it because it was all binding up because of that shaft being bent. So now she turns just fine. I have this front wheels jacked up in there. That's why it's turning so easily with this little adapter. But anyways, that's all set. The last thing I really have left to do, I think, is on the adapter or the connector here. They give you one longer stud or pin or whatever you call it. These three were all short, but this one's longer. So on this flat side of the column, I guess you're supposed to, there's no instructions, but I guess the deal is you drill that out and then that goes all the way through it. So we'll grab a drill, take care of that, and then we'll be on to the next thing because the steering column will be installed. Alright, well now I managed to lose my Allen wrench and my 1/2" wrench I was tightening that stuff with. Hold on. Found my 1/2" wrench. It was in my back pocket. Who would ever thought to look there? Just for comparison's sakes, when we turn the wheels, we don't get a bunch of jumping around with the steering column there. Looks like it moves just a hair, but before it was all which is not So before we move on from this steering column project, I got one question for you Tri-5 guys out there. I know somebody knows the answer to this, and I can probably look it up, but I'm gonna ask you, what kind of lubrication, grease, oil, gear oil, fluid, etc. goes in these things? So this one has just a pipe plug here. My old one that came on the car, it has a grease zert in that same spot. So I assumed you just filled her up with some grease, but this makes me think that you use some gear oil or something. Anybody out there know? All right, steering column's done. Let's get this rear end out of here so we can show you guys the new wheels. How about that? You guys probably already knew this, but those things are kind of heavy and awkward, but with the help of the jack there, I was able to get out of there by myself. So now I'm gonna clean a little bit of this mess up, and then we'll get the wheels and tires. All right, I already showed you that they're kind of big fat tires. I did the mini tub and moved the leaf springs so I could get some tire under there. The thing I didn't think about was it's a pretty tall tire too, so it's gonna raise her up in the back a little bit, and I wasn't really digging that. Hopefully I could even get them under here like this. All right, I'll come back when I'm ready to show you what they look like. All right, the time has come. Are you ready? Are you ready for the big wheel reveal? I don't know why I'm making such a big deal out of this. Nobody even really cares probably, but I know some of you care because you made comments and said you can't wait to see what I picked and all that good stuff. So now's the time. Thanks for sticking around to the end to see what we got going on here. So here we go. Well, bam. Weld Racing Dragstar, I think is what they're called. Now, I'm not saying I don't like these. These were probably like my third or fourth choice. The first thing I liked was Rocket Racing injectors. Those wouldn't work with the disc brakes. There was some American Racing wheel that's kind of similar, but they didn't come with the skinny in the front. There was some more old school slots that I kind of liked, but they didn't have the right sizing, or I couldn't find the right sizing I wanted. Some wheels were like, you had to wait till February to get them. I didn't want to do that. So anyways, these ones, I like them. I think they're cool. They're a little bit old school. They had them in stock. They had the size I need. Hope you guys like them. I guess don't really care. I like them. And then in the back, same thing. Only we got, a wider wheel, wider tire. Well, bam, we got some meat under there. All right, so you'll notice that I got kind of a slick on there. It's not really a slick, it's a DOT slick. So it's a Hoosier QuickTime Pro, which is basically a slick with a couple grooves in it. And people already been asking me, what if you get caught in the rain and all that stuff? Well, I'm not driving this thing across country. I'm gonna hopefully do like drag and drive, so I'll have to drive it a little bit. But the theory is I'd like to obviously get another set of tires, probably tires and wheels for if I drive it a whole bunch, cruising around town and whatnot. But I want to drag race this thing. It's not a dedicated drag car, but I do want to drag race it. I did all this work to move the springs and widen the wheel tub, so I wanted to get as big a tire under there as I could, and that is as big a tire as I can get under there. It fits though, so I think we're good there. I got to measure for the rear end and see how wide that's going to be. One thing I don't like is it's going to make the car sit a little higher in the back than I'd like with that big of a wheel under there with the type of suspension I have. It's not going to sit as high as it is right now. Right now it's up on the jack stands, and I can't lower it down to more ride height because I just don't have a good way to jack it and lower it. I don't want to do one side at a time and twist something or have it fall off the stands or whatnot, but it's not going to be a whole bunch lower than that, unfortunately, but it's going to be a little bit lower just based on, where the leaf spring is and, how the axle's going to sit. I'll probably have to get, or I may have to get a lowering block. I got the Calitrax suspension on there, but they do make a lowering block, so I guess it must still work with that. The problem I'm going to have is getting these big tires in and out of there. It is going to be a chore. Probably going to have to lower the rear end down and everything like that. So changing tires back and forth isn't going to be something I do a whole lot. No, I will not cut the quarters to make that easier. But I hope that it's not going to be so hard that I can't really do it. Well, there we have it. Thanks for sticking around to the end for the big wheel reveal. Things are moving along out here finally in Montana Garage. Still got a little bit of hunting season left, so I'm not really too dedicated, or I'm dedicated. I just don't have time to be out here as much as I would like to be, of course. But we're going to shoot for Rocky Mountain Race Week in the spring again. So we got lots to do. Brake lines are probably next. And let's see. I don't even know what else. Probably, I don't know. I guess it'll be a surprise. It's a surprise for me too. I don't even know. Brake lines and something else coming up soon. Come on back for that. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. Leave a comment below and just let me know what you think. We're almost at 6,000. We should be at 6,000 subscribers before this thing posts. So thanks to each and every one of you. I appreciate it.